It's 2024, so you know what that means. It's time for goal setting. Welcome back to the Keeping Everything Simple podcast. I'm your host and fellow learner, Michael Klucas, and on this show, we boil down complex topics into simple, actionable tips. And this is my first episode of New Year. So happy New Year to all you who were welcoming 2024 and just everything that's gonna hopefully happen this year. There's a lot of things that, as I mentioned in my last episode, that I had as, a goal, a resolution that I didn't hit. And that's, you know, not discouraging, but it's definitely a kind of reminder where I've been doing this kind of same system of goal setting for the past 3-4 years now. So I want to change it up a little bit and utilize a bit more of what I talked about in my Hike and Reset Your Life episode 35 of the Keeping Everything Simple podcast. So we're going to go through and I'm going to walk through that experience with you guys. And this is how I had originally wanted to set my goals, but never actually got around doing it this way. And I've used this in smaller settings before, and I've found better success with that. So I want to try this out and take a more focused approach to my actual goals. So this is, let me actually do a bigger, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see my full screen here. I just have a Google Doc open. It just says, my goal is just 24. Let me underline that just because I feel like it. And one of the first things that I had talked about was writing down as many goals as possible. So just like kind of brain dumping them to get them outside of your head and onto a spreadsheet, either a notebook, piece of paper, whatever it is, but they just have to get out of your head. So that's what we're going to do right now. So one of the things that I've done originally was I split up my goals between different categories. I had done health, physical health anyways, emotional, mental health. I did my relationships. I did my finances, my career, and then personal goals. I think that was all of them. there was a lot of categories, which also was probably part of the problem here because it's so spread out. But I do like to keep it. I want to simplify it a bit more and go through this idea of health, and that's just kind of all encompassing, relationships, of course, finances, career, and then personal. It's trying to simplify it down to a more like manageable degree, but still hitting the kind of key pillars of my life that I really would like to get to focus on, because if I'm not able to actually do that, that'd be a little bit unfortunate. So we're going to go through and start off by just, again, listing out as many of them as possible. So if you're following along on YouTube, feel free to also write this down with me if you haven't actually done this exercise yet. But if you're just listening to this, then let's go through and list out as many of them as possible right now. So let me switch to my layout. So what do I want to do? I didn't hit my target weight, so I want to get my weight still back down to 170. Messed that up for a second there. Back down to 170 pounds to 175 pounds. And that's just returning to an older weight of my own and feeling to, or wanting to do more of like a body recomposition, just because I want to make sure that I am healthy, make sure that I am feeling confident, and the number itself doesn't truly matter because I can be my current weight, and if I have more muscle than fat, then I'm at a good spot. And that's just kind of something to keep in mind here. Context really matters. What I want to do is to be able to get back down to that weight range, because I think there's an opportunity there for myself, but we'll just have to see what that actually truly holds for me. But that's one goal right there. So that's the weight range I want to hit. So actually, there we go. Turn these into little bullet points. All right. And I want to get into, it's not deadlifting. Is it deadlifting? I'm just going to say into more heavy weight training. And then put a little side quest here as consider, I think it's the 1,000-pound club or whatever it is. Just going to add that in. which, if I remember correctly, was being able to lift, deadlift, and squat like 1,000 pounds combined. And to me, that seems like a rather fun goal and a little bit of a stretch one, but it's not, I think, unreasonable. But it's a stretch goal because that's not an actual true consideration. I just want to get stronger. So that's actually maybe something else to add in here. Get stronger and get leaner. Kind of like that one really, was it a lean machine? That's a really dumb way to put that. But yeah, no. So I want to be able to take my physical health very seriously and make sure that I'm not letting myself kind of fall to the wayside. Because for those of you that don't know, when I was growing up, I weighed about 200 pounds, actually probably a little bit over that, and I was just in 5th and 6th grade. Not the healthiest spot to be in, but that is something that I was able to grow into thanks to a growth spurt and thanks to continually doing sports. And that's something that I carried on throughout my entire academic career, where I was always in sports. I was always on some type of team. And I want to make sure that I am maintaining that athleticism and that health because it benefits my life so much to do so. And also, I really like food. And I'm not going to lie when I say that it's nice to be able to eat a little bit more of what I want because I know that I have room for it within a diet or within my overall health journey. So that's just the side note to that. All right, let's dive back into this. So, getting stronger and getting leaner. So that is more of the physical goals. Now, what else do I want to have happen? That's something else to consider here. I want to continue to meditate daily. And this is just trying to be present, trying to be mindful, and something that I know will help me in the long term because if I don't like dedicate time to this, did I spell meditate wrong? I did. Let me add that. I fix that. But I want to make sure that I am actively allowing myself time to process, time to think, and time to just really hone in on my mental health. And that's something I actually want to add in here. So I want to continue to meditate daily. I want to learn more about mental health, learn more about psychology. That's not how you spell psychology. There we go. I would never win a spelling bee. That's besides the point. But I want to learn more about psychology because the human brain, in of itself, always feels like a bit of this kind of mystery box and mystery machine that just pulls to mind Scooby-Doo. But I want to make sure that I can start learning more about how the brain and how the mind works because while I've been in counseling for years and I plan to continue to stay in counseling, actually, let me add that in there too. Continue counseling at least once a month. And that's because I'm in a chapter of my life where I think that I want the once a month so that way I have time to dive into these topics such as learning about psychology. If I have any action or actionable homework, then I can take that away and truly work on that instead. So that's where the counseling part comes in, but also just trying to learn, trying to understand it more because there's so much to be understood about why we are the way we are and how we operate. And I want to just dive into that because I think there could be a whole lot more that I'd be able to take away and improve my life with by just having an open mind to it. So let's see, what else do I want to do in this kind of like category? There's a yeah, let's just keep going. We'll move our way through it because I want to make sure that I am still just making time or having a brain dump here. So let's move into relationships. So I want to take my fiance on dates. I want to plan dates and to execute the plan. I want to continue to refine the idea of 222. So for those of you that don't know, this idea of 222 is every 2 weeks you're supposed to have a date night, every 2 months it's a date weekend, and then every 2 years it's a date week. And this is an idea that me and my fiance had stumbled upon in the past, and we thought it sounded like a really good way to kind of bridge together what couples tend to miss out on, I think is the best way to put it. For the fact that if you aren't making time and setting dedicated time towards maintaining your relationship, maintaining your couple, and your friendship, essentially, then you have to make sure. Then you will essentially be at greater risk of falling apart or losing some form of connection. And this is just one way of doing that. And so I want to be able to refine that idea and work with my fiance on that. And this is actually one of the more important ones. Let me just put this in bold. Have a successful, fun, and memorable wedding. That is in bold because that is one of the big ones. I'm getting married this year, which is exciting, nerve-wracking, and I want to be able to say and look back on it and say I did my best to help out my fiance, and I didn't just put this all on her shoulders. So that's in bold. That's important. And then what else? I want to try to plan more get-togethers with my friends. I want to communicate with them on a more frequent basis. I know last year I'd put down like every other week and then every other month type of thing to either text or call them. And I don't think I should try to like force that, but I definitely want to make sure that I'm frequent in how I communicate with them, where it's not months go by and I haven't said anything to them, because I keep my circle fairly small and that's intentional, but I want to make sure that I am going deep with my friendships with the people that mean the world to me. So that's where I want to really emphasize the communication piece, but also not kind of bottleneck myself and like, all right, I missed this week. I feel bad about it. But instead be like, hey, something really cool happened. I want to reach out to them, just talk to them about it. Because I think that'd be a bit more of a reasonable way to approach it. But that is for friendships. I want to continue to have family game nights. I want to organize movie nights, either at home or at the theater. Let's see. And let's see. Still wanting to do, like, again, focusing on the relationship piece. And something else that just came to mind while I was writing that down was I want to continue to stay consistent with planning and commitments. So if I say something, I will do something, just because I want to make sure that I don't fall into the trap, which I have in the past, of, oh, I'm going to do this and then never actually getting around to it. That is a bad habit of mine, one that I desperately want to break, and I've been trying to break. So I want to make sure that I stay consistent when I say I will do something. And that kind of adds it to the physical health one. Continue to go to the gym. I would say 4 to 5 to 6 times a week. We'll do 4 to 5. Because rest days are important, and that just comes to mind with consistency. All right, and then finances is kind of where my brain's like leading towards next. And as you can see, that there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to this. I originally started out trying to be a little bit consistent with it, or at least consistent with this listing. But no, we're just gonna dive in. I want to create a side hustle that generates at least $500 extra a month. I want to get involved with community efforts where I live. I want to do more speaking events. I actually have an event coming up on January 25th with the Episcopal Diocese of Olympia, where I'll be hosting actually a kind of career and vocation rediscovery workshop to allow people to understand what careers look like today and what that means for us going forward, because in 2024 Gen Z is kind of set to take over baby boomers in the workforce. So we're going to have a changing of the guard, I think is the best way to put it, among the employees that are actively full-time workers, because it's just going to be a different lineup of people getting into roles. And this is something that I think is exciting, but also means that there's a lot of transition points that people are going to be going through. And so the event is going to be kind of dedicated around rediscovery, really getting aligned with what makes you happy and how you can use that to really benefit your career. So I'll leave the links to that actually in the description if you guys want to check that out, if you want to sign up and register for that. But this is something that I think is going to be a lot of fun. But I want to do more types of events like that. So kind of workshop, kind of speaking events. I want to give back to my community, either through volunteering or through actually putting on an event. That's nice about volunteering. There we go. Thank you, autocorrect. And let's see. What else would I like to do? So knowing that I have the idea of the side hustle that I want to make happen, I want to grow the podcast to 10K subscribers. Now, that again is a stretch goal that I had from last year, which is more so just to remind myself of what would be fun. But I think actually, I was going to debate if I should lower that down to like 5,000 or 1,000 to get my first full 1,000 subscribers. But I'm going to leave it at 10,000 because I want this to grow into something that I can look at and say, it's fun, it's exciting, someone gets value out of these discussions I have around careers and around Gen Z and just how the world is changing and how some things are staying the same. So I want this podcast to grow. And even though it's just me, I'm having fun with it. And I'm enjoying the fact that I am actually also put this on here, uploading one video a week at minimum. Like, I'm actually making sure that I am planning out what this year might look like in advance, because something that I've done is I want to dive into research. I want to dive into a little bit more of doing like synthesis, essentially, of taking some other articles, taking some other research and experiments people have conducted and surveys, and just like compiling this stuff so you guys both don't have to, but also so that way we can see how things are kind of taking shape and get this kind of macro perspective on work, life, career. And I think that'd be a lot of fun. But I want to grow this podcast, and 10K subscribers, I'm going to keep that as my stretch goal because I think it can happen, but I also know I need to keep pushing myself to make it happen. And then upload one video a week. Try to focus on building a community on YouTube. Keep current with TikTok and Instagram. It's not, so this is, a good example of this is Modern Millie, who, if you don't know, is a social media kind of like coach and is someone that I follow on both Instagram and YouTube. And she recently has stepped back from Instagram and is going pretty much all in on YouTube. And this is something that I am been taken away for a while. This idea of getting focus, having a lot more dedication towards like one platform, one kind of purpose. And you can have a secondary one, which is good, but I haven't bought into any of the services yet where I can post to multiple places at once, because I like this idea right now of really honing in on YouTube. And sure, I also want to write more, and that might be this kind of combination of me doing my scripts, turning them into articles, posting them on LinkedIn as actual LinkedIn articles. It's just this kind of mothership idea of content, which Think Media on YouTube, originally I got the idea from them of like make one big piece of content and then spread it out from there. Take things that are your highlights, repurpose it into articles, repurpose it into blogs. It's just this idea of not making yourself do the work over and over again, but also having a focused approach, because that is what will allow you to do more within the same kind of realm and to do it better. So that's where I want to stay current with these platforms, but I want to focus on YouTube. So I'm going to highlight that one just because I don't want to forget that. And let's see, what else? So focusing on building community, uploading one video a week, try to do more, actually not try to, do more topical research, and among my personal goals, continue to learn Spanish daily, read at least 2 books a month, focus in on one book for 6 months. This is an idea I got from Ryan Holiday, who was recently on the deep dive with Ali Abdaal, and he talked about this idea of not only reading a book for speed and for context, but to really hone in on trying to understand and internalize the ideas from books. So he had talked about even just working over one book for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and really not obsessing over it, but trying to understand it at a level that you wouldn't get with just one read through. And I want to try that this time around, or this year, and just focus on like 1-2 pages, maybe a chapter, and like for a period of like 6 months, really get into the nitty gritty about that book, which is also where this idea of research comes in. But I think that'd be an interesting way to go about this. So focus in on one book a month, or for one book for a period of 6 months, and still read other books around it as well. So I just want to be able to continue to say I am reading consistently and constantly, because I love to read and I want to make sure I stick with that. And let's see, where do we go next? So I want to journal daily, do an shortened version of Morning Pages. And if you don't know, Morning Pages is a practice from The Artist's Way, which is the book, and the author had described essentially starting your day off with writing out 3 pages of just brain dump. So kind of similar to this, where you are just getting anything and everything out of your head. There doesn't need to be rhyme or reason to it. If you are saying, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and you should write in that for like 3 whole pages, that can be part of it. But doing a shortened version of that is me just doing like 1 to 1.5 pages a day of that brain dump. And that helped me, I think it will help me stay mindful. It will help keep things at the top of my brain that should be there. And it will help me kind of direct my energy where I think it should go. But I want to continue to do a shortened version of Morning Pages, continue with daily gratitude journaling, and maybe upgrade that to like a morning and nightly gratitude. That's something that my fiance actually got me for Christmas, which is actually, let me pull it up here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that I'm holding up, let me do full screen, a book called The 5-Minute Journal, which I'm excited for. And inside it is just these, It's based on the 5 Minute Manager, if I remember correctly, or 1 Minute Manager. But it's going through these daily affirmations, highlights of the day, what I learned today, what am I grateful for. So I'm holding up to the camera. I think this is going to be a great resource and something that I would like to continue to do because I want to make sure that I'm being grateful for what I have, and at the same time trying to find those story-worthy moments throughout the day, because that's one of the things on here distinctly of like highlights of the day. And I think that's going to help me find the joy in just the everyday, as opposed to trying to always have something extraordinary happen. Finding the highlights, finding those big moments within the normal, within the common. So, daily gratitude, journaling, continue all that, continue my Spanish, read at least 2 books a month. Try to, actually, no, let me fix that, not say try. Practice ukulele at least once a week. And that's just a challenge because I want to get more into music again. And it's just the easiest, like it is, you're not going to see this if you listen to this on Spotify or any other podcast app, but I have a coat rack back there. There's my ukulele right there. And it's a cute little red one. I want to make sure that I am playing and practicing because it is, 1, a challenge, 2, dexterity, and 3, it's just a good way to express myself, I think, through music. So I want to try that. I have a little mini keyboard hiding under my bed back there too. But I want to work on more artistic expression. So continue with that. And then let's see, what else? Learn more about computers, learn more about leadership and development, other fun personal things, continue to learn about physical health for running and maintenance. I'm not saying run and care because I run and I mess up my knee every single time, so I need to fix that. But I think we're at a good point here. It's about so far 2-ish pages almost, and that's just a kind of a little bit of a brain dump. And so now moving on to the next part here, it's to go through and shave them down until you have 3 to 5 primary goals. So I want to get my weight back down to 175. I want to get into heavy weightlifting, get stronger, leaner, focus on running, and stay consistent. So if I want to shave those down in terms of, and also the mental health, so meditate daily, learn more about mental health, learn about psychology. If I want to like put this under the category of just health, so I'm going to actually write that down here. We're going to have health. So 3 to 5 primary goals just in general for the year. So in terms of health, I would say, I'm going to like abbreviate this here. Optimize. Let me put this back on screen so you guys can see what I'm writing out here. Optimize a hybrid athlete style of training. If you look on YouTube, there's a couple of channels that kind of emphasize this, where it is heavy weightlifting. It is still doing things like running like a couple times a week. It is a hybrid style where you're focusing on endurance, you're focusing on strength, and you're trying to optimize in different ways. And I like that idea a lot because I think it's what I'm currently trying to aim towards. So optimize for a hybrid style of training to maintain a healthy weight of 170 to 175 with a focus on nutrition. I didn't even actually write that into these previous ones, but it's just something that I know because everything starts with your nutrition, essentially, like getting more activity in your day is going to be good, but also setting aside focus and mental energy towards how am I going to make sure that I'm sticking to a diet, make sure I'm getting the right macros in. So, optimizing for a hybrid style of training to maintain a healthy weight with a focus on nutrition, consistency, and fun. I think that sums it up well. So optimize a hybrid athlete style training to maintain a healthy weight of 170 to 175 pounds with a focus on nutrition, consistency, and fun. Because if you hate what you do, you're not gonna stick to it, and that's a true statement that I will stand by. And then for mental health, and this is try not to get too into the weeds about it. Focus on journaling, reading, and counseling to understand my mind, my barriers, I think is a good way to put it. And I'm trying to think of what would be the best way to put that. So, because I want to be able to focus on, how do I want to phrase this? Focus on my journaling, reading. I'm going to put learning actually. So, journaling, learning, and counseling to understand my mind, my emotions, and the mental landscape that I exist in. That feels reasonable to me. And then let's see here. I don't want to get too crazy on the goals again, because I think that again was the problem over the past couple years was I had too many, and they were too sectioned off. So moving then into relationships, carve out dedicated time to the important people in my life, to go deeper into our relationships, and to just have fun and connection. So, I feel like that dedicates it pretty well. Like I think that's how I want to look at just my setup and goal for the year of like, I want this to be, I look back on 2024 and say, this is what I did. This is how I feel about my relationships. I've carved out time. I've made time for them. And there's the smaller ways I can work backwards from that. But I think that is a good way to look at it. And then this is more focused on my relationship with my fiance. So build a strong foundation for marriage, friendship, and adventure through communication and continued improvement. And this is just unsolicited advice that I'm going to give you all right now. You should never stop trying to improve. You shouldn't just settle because you either got married or because you've been in such a long-term relationship. You should, I'm going to go full screen here. You should always try to get better, be better, and do better for yourself and for your partner. Because a rising tide lifts all ships, and that extra effort will elevate your relationship if you continue to be better and do better. So, unsolicited advice there, but I'm leaving that in. And let's see. Moving down through, I have my health, I got my relationships, and I think I'm just going to carve it out to then next be the personal ones. Well, actually, let's see. It was 3 to 5 was the goal overall. So cover dedicated time, focus on journaling. Hmm. This is hard. And that's not a bad thing. So I will emphasize that if you are struggling with your kind of resolutions and really putting them to paper, it's not a bad thing to have them be a little bit of a struggle, because you want them to kind of encapsulate what you want to look back on 2024 on, or 2024 as. And I will say though, so My First Million released their episode, I think a couple days ago, whatever it was, but Sean had talked about, was it Sean? I think it was Sean. Yeah, it was Sean that talked about the Gen Z bingo card type of idea, where it's like, I may or may not do X, Y, Z, but it's on my bingo card. So if I hit it, awesome. If I don't, eh. And it's kind of like similar to how I'm trying to think of this right now. It's like, I want to make sure I'm emphasizing the important things without getting too lost in the weeds. So let's see. I want to make sure that for personal goals, I must still make them personal. I am growing my business through interest, fun, research, and a spirit. Actually, I'm growing my business. And is it self-improvement? I don't know. That doesn't quite feel right. So personal goals, or my personal goal, I am improving life and business through interest, fun, research, and a spirit of learning, or spirit of adventure. I think that fits. And that's where I will put in those ideas of starting a side hustle, because that's important. And starting, or actually reevaluating the side hustle, I think is the better way to put it, where I just want to make sure that I am putting effort into different ways of fostering wealth, fostering interest and my hobbies. So I think that one works. But the one now that is a little that I have to keep in mind here is like, I'm going to break my own rule here. Financial. I have to put that in. That's important. So increase monthly income by $500, and to create, I'm gonna steal Ramit Sethi's thing here, a rich life that encourages exploration. That feels good. I'm going to probably refine these a little bit further later on, but I think I'm going to leave those there for now. And so thinking about the why behind them is the other step that I had listed out. And I think I explained it pretty well as I was going through it. So for the health and physical health, optimizing for that hybrid style of training, because I want to feel confident, I want to feel healthy, and ultimately that's what it comes down to, is this what both what I want to be, but also the feeling to that is super important. And then mental health, I want to just learn, I want to understand, I want to grow, and journaling, counseling, just all those things I think will help me achieve that goal long term. Relationships, dedicating time, because I want to make sure that there's that trend or that graph we have probably all seen at some point on the internet, of just the amount of time that you spend with people over your lifetime. And it starts out super high, and then it dwindles and dwindles and dwindles, going lower and lower. And I want to make sure that that's not necessarily how my life is ending up. And to me, I think that's why I'm dedicating so much time towards the important people and my relationship because I want to make sure that it is consistent. It is something that will stand the test of time and stand the different chapters that I'm going to go through and that we're going to go through just in general as people. Personal goals then, so improving life, business through interest, fun, research, and the spirit of adventure. Again, this sounds more like a kind of call to action, but I want to make sure that this podcast stays fun, that I'm following my interests, following my hobbies, and it's an adventure. Isn't supposed to be, I think for right now, the current chapter that I'm in, this has to happen, but instead let me grow this, let me learn, and let me just have fun and share it with you guys. And financials, increasing monthly income of $500 to create a rich life that encourages exploration. That's because I just want to make sure that I'm keeping like a pulse on my finances. That's important because I don't want to just go through and be like, I don't know where my money's going, or I don't know how much I have coming in. But it's because I don't have, I think, money insecurity, but it's more so just this idea of there's a lot of things that I want to do. There's a certain lifestyle that I want to lead, and this is going to be one of the avenues I can get to that. So that's kind of like digging into the why a little bit behind them. And so accountability partners is what I have, I think, next on here. Let's double check. Let's see. I've one of them down. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6. It's a little bit over the 5, which is okay. But I really want to put financials in there. And then accountability partners. So among my health will be my siblings, because they all have gym memberships, and that just makes it easier for us to work out and to hit our goals, hit our protein intakes. And then obviously with, let's see, relationships, it's going to be my fiance. It's kind of an obvious one there, but important to note all the same. And personal goals there. Did I write down? It should have been, okay, it's 1 to 2 people for that, just good accountability partners. I think that works. Let's see. I think that takes us then to target dates. So optimizing health. So that one I want to have be completed by May 1st. So why May 1st? Because I want to be prepared for my wedding. I'm not saying when my wedding date is, but I am just putting in May 1st as when I want my health to be situated and good to go, so I feel confident and ready for marriage. But no, it's something that I needs a goal in mind there. And then for the journaling, focusing on learning, that one's more of just a continual practice. Carving out dedicated time. That one also. So most of these, I think, aren't really going to have due dates per se, but can benefit from when do I want to see good improvement and when do I want to do check-ins by. So like for the relationship one, that one is definitely going to be by June. I just want to see an improvement in dedicating time towards my circles, and then improving my life, business, and adventures. Putting that one, I think just doing a mid-year check-in might be helpful. Mid-year or quarter, one or the other. And then let me put this down here for check-in points. So check-in. The end of every quarter, there will be a check-in. And I may or may not make episodes on that. I tried that last year. Didn't go over so well. But I think that might be the best way still to go about it, because I did take time to sit down and be like, okay, where am I at? How can I redirect? And at minimum, one check-in a quarter, I think is good. But optimally, it'd be, I think, one check-in a month, so that way I can truly see, am I on track? Am I going the right direction? So, like I said, I will probably end up refining this a little bit further, getting a bit more specific on the language used, and give myself a bit more of a timeline for some of these that I can. But these are the ways in which I want to look back on my goals. So instead of getting super granular on them, it's this kind of, I want to look back on 2024 and say, this is the year that I did this. This is the year that I felt my relationships really became higher quality. The year that I got back to a physical and mental standpoint where I feel so confident, I feel so happy, so joyful that I'll be able to go into the next year and the year after that feeling even better. And I think this is going to be a good year. Overall, that's what I think it chalks up to, because the emphasis here isn't on me cutting things back or leaving things out of my life. It's instead trying to elevate what I currently have to the next level, so that way I'm not letting myself stagnate, but I'm instead pushing myself to live simpler, do more, and do it better. So if you haven't written your goals out this year yet either, then there's a lot of different ways to do it. This is just the way I'm testing now after having done the previous goal setting for the past 3 years in the same exact method, where I had several different categories, like 2 to 4 goals per category. And at some point, I think that just let it kind of fall to the wayside. And this one instead is, I want to look back on December 31st of 2024 and say, this is what I did. This is what I was happy with. And this allows me to work backwards and be a bit more granular in the approach rather than just the outcome. So again, I wish you all a happy 2024. If you watch this on YouTube, make sure that you leave your top goal in the comments below. Make sure that you also subscribe to the podcast while you're down there and drop a like as well. If you listen to us on a podcast app of choice, make sure that you also give us a follow and a rating. It helps us out so much and helps other people discover the show as well. But let's make this a good year, everybody. Let's give it our best, and let's see where we end up at the end of this year. Keep everything simple. Have an amazing day, you amazing people, and I will see you all in the next episode.